Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the St. John Plan Commission meeting for March 2nd. If we could all stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sergio, roll call, please.
Bob Rolson.
Here.
Yolanda Cardona.
Here.
John Gill.
Here.
Bob Valois.
Here.
Jason Vlasic.
Here.
Joseph Gomez Tago. It's a new Plan Commission member. I believe he's online. And then John Kennedy.
Here.
Attorney Adam Decker.
Here.
Engineer Ken Kraus.
Here.
Councilman Liaison Brian Blazak.
Present.
And then we have a new member to the Building and Planning Department, Jenna Lordson.
Can you hear me?
Is this Joseph?
Can you hear me?
Joe, you need to speak up a little bit, buddy. Joe, can you speak up? All right, we'll do our best with technology.
So at this point in time, I think Joseph's going to sit in or watch the Plan Commission meeting. However, he's not been sworn in, so he's not able to vote on any items. At some point, we'll get someone from the clerk treasurer's office to get him sworn in, and he would then become a voting member of the board.
Awesome. So Jenna, not to put you on the hot seat, can you give us a little brief history of yourself, an introduction to the board?
Sure. My name is Jenna Lordson. I live
Testing,
in
1,
Lowell,
2,
just
testing.
outside of town limits there. Worked for the town of Lowell for combined about 6 years previously.
Testing,
in the
1,
Building
2,
and Planning
testing.
Department of the clerk treasurer's office. So
Well, nice to have you on board. Thank you. All right. Joe, this is John Kennedy. Can you hear me? All right. Since he can't vote, then I'm allowed to just do roll call, or I don't have to do roll call votes, correct?
Correct. You have,
So
you
we could just do voice votes tonight, since Joe is not eligible to vote. If he was eligible, we would have to do roll call. So next on the agenda, we have, I'm going to ask the board if we can split these up. I'm going to abstain since I was sick on January 5th. So if we could get a motion regarding the January 5th regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 5th, 2022 Plan Commission meeting minutes as posted.
I have a motion by John for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Yolanda. Discussion, comments regarding the minutes, corrections, changes? Hearing none. All in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with an A? One abstention for me. I will abstain. Next on the agenda, we have the January 19th Plan Commission special meeting. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as posted for the January 19th, 2022 Plan Commission special meeting.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, can I get an aye? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 6-0. Very good. Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. The public hearing is for Walnut Creek North Edition, Lot 1 and 2. Sergio, is everything ready for public hearing?
Everything has been met for the public hearing this evening, correct? Yes.
Everything is ready for the public hearing. If I could have the petitioner, prior to opening up public hearing, to give a address to the board, a description on the project. All right, if you want to state your name and, for the record.
Stuart Allen, Turinga Surveying, and then owner Bill Bacon from Walnut Creek.
Good evening, gentlemen. If you want to just give us a quick review, we've had this through study session, but if you could just break down.
Can't hear.
Sorry about that. If you give a brief description on the request, please.
There we go. Yes, there's three existing lots in Ravenwood subdivision that we're combining and making two larger lots. And one is for, currently they're doing a site plan for a Planet Fitness on the southerly lot. And so we're here to hopefully get, we'd like to request also preliminary and final approval tonight if possible. If you would entertain that, I would appreciate it.
Okay. Is there any questions for the board regarding the primary plat for this reference lots 8, 9, and 10 in Ravenswood? Hearing no questions from the board, gentlemen, if you want to take a seat, I'm going to open this up to public hearing. Let me just make sure there's no one requested to speak. All right, now I open up the public hearing for Walnut Creek North Addition Lot 1 and 2. This is a proposed preliminary primary request and potential secondary final replat of Ravenwood's Business Center, Phase 2, Lots 8, 9, 10, for a two-lot subdivision at 10045, 10103 Earl Drive. Is there anyone here, I have names, but is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment regarding the Walnut Creek North Addition Lot 2, 1, and 2? Is there anyone online that would like to make a public comment regarding Walnut Creek North Additions Lot 1 and 2?
Over here, but, Hard Street, but industrial.
Okay, that public hearing is coming up later. Thank you, sir. Sergio, did we receive any correspondence regarding?
I have not received any correspondence. That's at 6:30 this evening regarding Walnut Creek North Addition lots 1 and 2.
All right. I will ask a second time for any public comment regarding Walnut Creek additional lots 1 and 2. And I will make one final request before I close the public hearing. Going. Public hearing for Walnut Creek is now closed. Hearing no questions, I will bring it directly to the board. We have a primary approval, or I'm sorry, primary plat request for Walnut Creek. I have a letter here from our town attorney, or I'm sorry, town engineer. Dear Plan Commission, we have reviewed the primary plat for the reference project and have the following comments. 1, this subdivision project combines lots 8, 9, and 10 of the Ravenwood Business Center into 2 lots. We have reviewed the plat and find it to be satisfactory. The development fee for this project is $1,500 as there are no associated public infrastructure improvements. All the public improvements have been installed as part of the existing subdivision. Sincerely, Ken Kraus. Questions or comments to the petitioner from the board? Hearing no questions or comments, I will entertain a motion. Now, Sergio, the sidewalk waiver, will that come on the Planet Fitness?
The sidewalk waiver is part of the requirements for sidewalk is part of the subdivision control ordinance. A waiver would need to be approved through the subdivision control ordinance.
Will this happen at this item or the item number B, Planet Fitness?
It would happen under this item.
It will happen under this
And
item.
then it should be reflected on, if a waiver is granted, then it would be reflected on the site plan for Planet Fitness. If it is not granted, then they would be required to show a site plan with a sidewalk.
Mr. President, I did put the sidewalk on Planet Fitness and not on this one. So,
Okay.
and we can transfer it if you like.
So for the board's understanding, there has been a request to waive the sidewalk at this site. So the pleasure of the board is to, first, we have always approved or denied the waiver. Do you guys have any comments regarding, you have requested a waiver for a sidewalk at this site, correct?
Yes.
And have you, at the last study session, the comments was if you could show cause or hardship for not having the sidewalk, we would entertain the discussion. Is there anything you have to comment regarding the waiver?
The site plan, the gentleman for site plan's not here.
I think that's a Planet Fitness issue. I
Yeah.
wasn't prepared to talk about that.
Yeah, neither was I, actually.
Yeah.
So I think that was at the site plan.
Right.
Is there anyone here from Planet Fitness I will allow to step up to discuss
Oh,
the,
there we go. Good.
since we have to make that decision at this issue?
Sorry about that. Yeah, that's.
All good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
If you could state your name for the record, please, sir.
yeah, Todd Reiling Design and Consulting. On behalf of my client, yeah, we're going to request this waiver for the sidewalk. First and foremost, like that, there is no other sidewalk, within this development or around this development at all. So we're requesting that waiver because of that reason. It's the sidewalk to nowhere, as we spoke at study session 2 weeks ago. And also, there is multiple utility boxes around the property, especially on the south and on the west portions of the property like that. So trying to get the sidewalk in there and within landscaping, that kind of stuff. So there is some kind of things we're gonna have to jockey around there in order to work that in. So again, we're trying, like I said, everybody else in the area, in this development area like that has all requested waivers, I'm assuming, and received them. So we're asking for the same thing.
Very good. Questions or comments from the board? Just for some historical knowledge, I've been on this board for way too long, 7 years. And there's been one development that has come through in my tenure, and unfortunately, I did not agree with the development because there were no sidewalks in there. Prior to me, these other developments have come in, and we have required other developments. Bob, you'll be very familiar with, what's that gas station on 231 in Parrish? The sidewalks to nowhere comment. My theory has always been if we continue to give waivers, we'll never have connections anywhere. And sir, you make that's a logical explanation. It's a logical approach. But we have this board, this makeup of this board over the last couple of years have, unless there has been some sort of, engineering issue, a severe hardship, it's been very difficult for an individual to come in and ask for a waiver. But again, I will entertain further discussion, or if there's a motion regarding the waiver, we can discuss that.
Let me just comment to your point. I think there's been, even recently in my tenure, a few developments where sidewalks were required despite the fact that there was no surrounding area. So that it is consistent with, I think, what we've been doing lately, and to me, it makes sense.
So if there's no other further discussion from the board, there is a request for a waiver. I will entertain, our choices are either to approve or deny sidewalk waiver at the Walnut Creek North Addition Lot 1 and 2.
So are we doing separately, first the waiver and then the?
Yeah, we'll do the waiver first, and then
Okay,
we'll do
I'm
the,
sorry, I don't.
no.
I want to make a waiver to deny the sidewalk for Walnut Creek North Addition Lot 1 and 2.
I have a motion to deny the waiver for sidewalk from Bob. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second from Jason. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the denial, aye, please, with an aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed? A motion to deny the waiver has been approved, 6-0. Next on the itinerary or agenda is then we have the proposed preliminary plat for Walden Creek Lot 1 or 2. I'll entertain a motion.
Want to make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Walnut Creek North Addition, Lot 1 and 2.
I have a motion by Bob to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
I got a second from John. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, sound with aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 6-0. They have requested a secondary plat. Usually when all the utilities are in place, we have allowed this on residentials. Is there a consideration? I'll entertain a motion to accept a decision on a secondary plat at this time from the board,
Make a motion to approve secondary plat.
or to entertain a motion for secondary plat. Okay, do we have to make a motion, Adam, first to make a discussion on secondary plat, or can we just approve it? I thought we always had to make a motion to accept.
I think we go 6-0, we can just.
Okay, very good,
I
okay.
always thought we just.
So,
Yeah.
you're very good.
Yeah.
All
I
right, so
think it can be approved on a motion. I don't know that it requires
us to make a motion to accept, okay, very good.
consent to do so. Now, if it is on the agenda, it does show secondary final plat on the agenda, so that I think we
Gotcha.
can proceed.
Thank you. Then let me read this letter from our town engineer. Dear Plan Commission, we have reviewed secondary plat for the reference project and have the following comments. One, this project is to convert 3 existing lots into a 2-lot subdivision in the Ravenwood Business Center. We have reviewed the plat and find it to be satisfactory. The development fee for this project is $1,500. The public improvements are existing. No letter of credit or a surety bond is required. Hearing that, I will entertain a motion. Sorry, John, for cutting you off.
It's all right. I'll make a motion to approve secondary plat for Walnut Creek North Addition, Lot 1 and 2.
I have a motion to approve secondary plat. Is there, from John, is there a second?
I'll second that.
I got a second from Yolanda. Discussion, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, signify with an aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have Planet Fitness, proposed development site for 18,000 square feet building at the proposed Walnut Creek North Addition. Sir, state your name for the record, please, and a brief description to the board.
Yeah, Todd Riley Design and Consulting. My client is a Planet Fitness franchisee requesting an 18,000 square foot building on lots 8 and half of 9, which I think will be lot
1.
1.
Thank you. So, roughly 183 parking spaces. That'll change a little bit. We had some comments back from the city engineer, and so I'll entertain any questions you may have, and we'll talk about his comments later on as well.
Is there any questions or comments for the petitioner at this time? Sergio, are we good for public hearing? We are good for public hearing, it says. With that, I will open it up to public hearing. Public hearing is now open for the Planet Fitness at proposed development at site, what is it, Ravenwood Lot 1? Or wait, Walnut Creek Lot 1. Is there any comments? Anyone from the public would like to comment regarding Planet Fitness? Anyone online would like to comment from Planet Fitness? Going twice. Going 3 times, hearing no one for public comment. The public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the board. Any comments for the petitioner from the board? Todd, you received the letter from Ken that I'm about to read.
Yes, sir.
So there is some additions that Ken has, that the site plan will need. So depending on our motion, please reference the conditions that Ken has put in and finding of facts, please, when that motion. So let me read the letter. Dear Plan Commission, we have reviewed the site plan and find it to be satisfactory with the exception of the following. 1, there needs to be 3 additional landscape items, 2 within the northmost row of parking and 1 within the southernmost row. Each of these islands is to have 1 tree and 1 shrub. B, irrigation of all landscaping area is required. The irrigation system is to have its own water meter. C, an additional cleanout is needed on the sanitary sewer service lateral. A cleanout is required at each change of direction and for every 100 feet to meet code. And there are no sidewalks planned along the but we have denied that waiver. The legal description of these plans is Lot 8 and half of Lot 9 in the Ravenwood Business Center, Phase 2. The same property will become Lot 1 of the Walnut Creek North subdivision. Any approvals of the Planet Fitness site plan
Over there, I don't think they can hear me, you know? I can't hear them.
should be contingent upon secondary plat approval of the Walnut Creek subdivision being granted and the proper recordation of same. The site plan review fee for this project is $1,500. The SWIP is not included in the project plans. It will be reviewed at a later date. The fee for these reviews will be determined at the time of review. So with A, B, and C, you're good with those?
We're good with that. Can I request a waiver on the sidewalk, not, and just hear me out real quick, as the board. Can I request a waiver on the south side and on the rear of the lot? Actually, just put a sidewalk in the front. We talked about this back at study session, 2 weeks ago, that ADA is gonna be very, very tough to actually get on that because of the existing slope of that roadway through there. So could we request a waiver not to put the sidewalk on that, which would be the south side?
Well, you wouldn't need to put one on the north side of the building, right?
The
You would only
north
have to-
side, no, we wouldn't.
No,
That butts up against Lot 2.
Right.
but then.
You'll have
on-
3 sides.
Right, he would have 3 sides.
Correct.
All right, and the issue with ADA is, from my understanding, we don't have a requirement for slope on an ADA in the
Right, I
town.
did some checking into that, and ADA has no jurisdiction over sidewalks running parallel to the street, just the curb ramps at the corners. And any sidewalk that runs from the public sidewalk to the building would have to be ADA compliant also. This doesn't have that. So the steep slope on 101st Place is okay within the ADA requirements because they say they have no requirements for those.
Okay,
So the slopes at the curb ramp
They
that has to meet
The curb ramps
ADA.
definitely have to be ADA compliant.
Okay,
There's actually a blurb in the standards that says that they prefer on terrain that's steep, that the sidewalk follow the street and the curb line, so that it's the same elevation, even if it's very steep. Now, our town ordinance requires sidewalks or pedestrian ways, as they're called in there, not to be more than 12% grade. I estimate that 101st Place here is probably around 7 to 8% at the steep part, which is less than what the requirement for a ramp is.
right.
So I don't think we can consider ADA requirements for the sidewalks on here as something that would stop us from approving them. So, however, as Todd said, there's a lot of things that are going to be in the way. There's all sorts of utility boxes and things like that. Probably could get around them without having to move them, but it'd be a wonky looking sidewalk.
Can I ask you, I guess the question is this sidewalk you guys want, will it be attached to the back of the curb, the existing curb out there? Is what you guys actually want this, and will it be 5 foot
Well, it needs to be
wide?
in the right of way.
I'm sorry?
It needs to be in the right of way, so somewhere between the back of the curb and the right of way line.
Okay.
Normally, it's up against the right of way line. But you've got
Yeah,
utility boxes that are gonna
A lot
lay,
of
and we're
them,
gonna have to
exactly.
do some jogging to get around, so it's not gonna be continuously along the right of way line.
But you want that face of that right up against the right of way is what you're looking for? And 5 foot wide?
Yes.
Okay. It's gonna be tough, like I said, because I know the utility boxes are, especially on 101st. are gonna be kind of in the way there.
Right, yeah, Sergio's pointing to them right now with his little green cursor arrow.
Right.
Yeah,
They're right
those-
on the right of way, as
yeah,
you
they're
can see
right on the
now,
right of way
right.
line, and
Well, how much space do you have between right on right of way and the parking?
yeah, it looks like there's more than 5. Oh, between where?
That's gonna be on our property, that would be on Planet
Oh, and I
Fitness
mean-
property, though.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not considered a city sidewalk, then.
right, we have to stay in the right of way, John.
Looks like along the curb, there's a box, maybe 5 feet, 6 feet.
Yeah, it looks like there's
North
room
of
to
the
fit a
back of
5-foot
curb.
walk through there.
Yeah.
I'd leave that up to
That's the reason
Todd
why I
to
asked you,
find out, yeah.
do you wanna tie it to the back of the curb? Cause I think that's the only way, if the waiver's not, denied or whatever, exactly, then I think it's the only way to get through on 101st.
Yeah, personally, I would like to see the sidewalk up against the right-of-way line for as much of it as possible, and to see a jog to go around that box
Okay.
is okay.
And tie it back through there? Okay. We'll work on that with the engineering design, and once we actually have the full improvement plans, back for you, you guys can, review that and let us know.
Like a slam dunk.
Yeah, and I apologize for having to put these items in the letter, mostly having to do with landscaping. I didn't have a chance to actually talk to the landscape architect about it and get those resolved before tonight's meeting. Usually, I call the guy,
Right,
if they make the changes, resubmit a plan, and then I write in the letter, everything is hunky-dory. So.
yeah. We get it.
All right. So before us, we have a motion for site plan proposal for Planet Fitness, discussion. If not, I'll entertain a motion, and please reference Ken's letter with the additions and referencing finding of fact, please.
Want to make a motion to approve Planet Fitness with Ken's finding of facts letter, except for item D. There will be sidewalks.
I have a motion from Bob reference, for approval of the proposed development site plan, referencing Ken's letter and finding of facts. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second from Jason. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing for Lentens addition. This is for both primary replat of Artesian Well Plat D of Lot 6 for a 2-lot subdivision, and for a proposed zone change from R2 to C2. I have been told that the public hearing requirements have been met. Is petitioner here? Yes. Sir, if you would give a brief description of the project to the board and introduce yourself.
My name is Dale Lenting, and I'd like to begin by giving a brief history explanation of what we are proposing for the town. Total property which we own, my wife and I, is approximately 7.8 acres. When we purchased the property about 6 years ago, we were presented with 3 options. Purchase the home with 2.8 acres, purchase 5 acres, which could be turned commercial, or purchase both. Before we purchased the property, I did go to the town and inquire what was all involved to turn the 5 acres commercial. They explained the process and told me that it should not be a problem at all. At that point, I mainly dealt with who was here before, Sergio.
Rick Everly?
Yeah, Rick. Mainly it was with Rick. Fast forward 5 years, I'm proposing only a 2.05 acres to be commercial and making 1 additional residential lot, which is sized well above the town minimum. And just a few things of note. Currently, I am building a home in that same subdivision, and it was a 2-lot. Initially, when I bought it, it was 2 lots, which I converted into a one-lot subdivision so that I could build one house on the two lots. When I went into the town, they told me that I could have built, without even any questions asked, two houses right on the two lots. But I went against that, and I wanted it to fit in with the rest of the subdivision. Also, I do plan on continuing to live in the existing residence. And with all the visits that I've had with the town, both before and recently, I've only been presented that this should be doable. I was never told that it's an unreasonable plan, but I've always been reassured that this property falls in the long-term commercial plan for the town. What I remember is that up to 600 feet off of 231, at one point I was even told that I could knock my house down and probably turn that into commercial also. So this is what we're presenting. It's 2.05 acres on the front. There's a pond next to that which will catch most of the drainage, which is there already. We put in and improved. And one lot subdivision, or yeah, the one lot will be, I think it's about 106 feet wide by approximately 155 or 60 feet long.
So that would be an R2. Okay. Anything else for the board?
I think that's all.
All right. Any questions for Dale at this time? All right, Dale, we're going to open it up, the public hearing.
Thank
At this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing for Lentens 2, addition to St. John. This is for, the hearing is for both a proposed primary replat of artesian wells and a proposed rezone to C2 of a proposed Lot 2 and for Lot 1 to R2. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone that would like to comment for public hearing? Sir, if you wouldn't mind, state your name, address for the record, and then I'm going to, did you sign in so I could just cross off your name?
Yes, sir.
Which, okay.
Timothy Neary.
Timothy, thank you, sir.
Okay, mine's Timothy Neary. I live at 11025 West 108th Avenue in that subdivision.
Tim, is one of those lots on the map?
No, sir.
Okay, very good.
I do have a petition of everybody in the neighborhood that signed this that doesn't want this to go through.
All right.
Can I?
Yes.
I made 5 copies.
We'll make sure this gets in the record for all the meeting minutes.
Extra copies.
Okay. No, I mean, I think all we need is one, and we'll make sure it gets to the proper.
Well, the printer was the only thing that really worked real good for me.
Sir, if you don't mind, I'm just going to take a second. I just want to read this for everybody.
Okay.
Regarding the petition to rezone lots at 10911 West 108th Avenue at Artesian Well subdivision. And the action petition, I, the resident, am against the rezone of the lots in Artesian Well subdivision. I am concerned about the congestion and safety that the commercial business would bring to the residential neighborhood. We don't need another home in our ranch-style subdivision. And these are signatures from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 16, 28.
Oh, it should be 16, I think, isn't it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 16. Oh, those are copies. 16 residents. Thank you, sir. All right, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
That's fine. I didn't get that to you soon enough. I apologize. There was a couple of people out of town. A couple of people were sick. I just had to get everything squared away. We're not looking to add on to our subdivision. It's congested enough. Okay, he's already using his property, his home, as the business. So these people are coming through our subdivision. Let's say he puts a commercial property down there by 231. How many people are going to go out onto 231 and go right to go north? They're going to come through our subdivision, they're going to go around, and they're going to jump over there where Cohen Animal Clinic is to get on 41. They're doing it already. You know, this is a nice little subdivision. Everybody is been there for, let's see, Two of us have been there for over 60 years. Most everybody else is 25 to 40 years. He puts this commercial lot there, people are gonna have lights coming in their house. The one lady, she can't make it tonight because she works nights. So she's gonna be during the day. This is supposed to be a subdivision. He's mentioned he's put a house up. He put a 2-story house up in a 1-story subdivision. The person next to him, they're gonna be looking down in those people's windows. He's gonna do that to the other house, same thing. And again, we have added business. There's traffic like you wouldn't believe in there, especially in the afternoon. Shift change, people think they can come down that road and make a shortcut. Some of us like to walk. Frank and Jerry, they walk. It's getting to where we have to walk at 9 o'clock at night because of all the traffic. We don't need any more traffic or anything like that in the neighborhood. Everybody used to sit out there in the evenings, and we used to walk and talk and chat with everybody. Since he's moved in and done all this stuff, we can't. Because his constant traffic of his vehicles, he's running that vegetable stand, the kids are running up and down the street with the golf carts. What are us old people supposed to do? So that's my theory. I don't see why we need it. And everybody else said the same thing. I wish you people could have come with me when I went and knocked on these doors, because I needed to wear a hard hat when I walked in. Some of the people were really upset about this. And why should one person be able to change the whole structure of a neighborhood that people have been in there for 20 to 40 years, 60 years, and they like it? 16 people say, let's leave it the way it is. And I don't understand, how could that property be, it wasn't commercial for how many years? Now all of a sudden you're saying it has to be commercial? Then you're blocking us in too. We have, on the west side, we have Cohen Animal Clinic. We have the gas station. Behind me, because I live on 108th, we have the 2 properties, Ingles on Giovanni's, I think it is. That's commercial. So then you put another one, you're squeezing us out. If he wants to do all this stuff, why doesn't he come up and say, people, here's money. Take it and run. Most of us would probably leave. We don't want to, but if it's going to be this way, why not? Again, why should one person be able to change everybody's lives? What are the dogs supposed to do? Every time they come by, they're barking. Do I have to get rid of my dogs? No, I'm not, but it's just, why should that one person be able to do that? And I've never heard that this commercial, and I knew Mr. Watt for years. I worked for Mr. Watt. He did not want this way. He'd be rolling around in his grave right now if he heard what was going on.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much, sir, for your comments. We appreciate that. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak? Sir, your name and address for the record?
I'm on that list also. My address is 10813 Snyder Place. I lived in the neighborhood for...
I'm sorry, sir, your name?
Ken Kaiser.
Thank you, sir.
Lived in the neighborhood for over 40 years. I used to live in Jim Watt's basement. Now I've got my own house. Most of the people are elderly in our subdivision. We don't move fast. He's got delivery trucks coming all times of the day. The roads are a subdivision road. It's not meant for heavy traffic. He's got things coming in with tile backing into his driveway. And the north side of the road there where the horseshoe is, it's been repaired twice because it's caving in. I don't know if it's sewers there or if it's just bad road or what. But if he puts commercial in down on the other side, he's going to have all that road all tore up and all the extra traffic. We don't need the extra traffic. The house that he is putting in now, it was under the agreement when we came in to say we wanted one lot with him. it was gonna be a single-story lot. And now it's a two-story house that he's put up. So if he can do that over there, it's hard telling what he's gonna try to put up in a commercial lot or the other house. It might be a three-story house, who knows? But it needs to be kept a small subdivision the way it is. We don't want any commercial lot or any other businesses brought in there.
Right. Thank you, sir, for your comments. Appreciate you coming out tonight. Is there, sir, your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Dennis Tomaszak, and I signed one of the papers, maybe not both of them.
Okay.
11001 West 108th Avenue.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I live right across the street from Dale. So, I mean, that's how close I am to him. As far as him as a person, I think he's a great person. He's been a great neighbor. But I have grandchildren, and other people in the neighborhood have grandchildren. And when they come, my grandchildren are 8, 6, and 4. They ride their bikes. There's no sidewalks. They ride them on the street. And, you know, we recognize the cars that are in our neighborhood of our neighbors, and we're respectful of each other. How do we know people who come to frequent his business will take as much care? The other thing that, you know, this brings up, possibly, with people coming in trying to find their way, because we are a big horseshoe of 2 streets, people just come around and they drive around. There's been many times when people have drove in front of my house thinking that they could get out going east, and they can't. So they have to turn around on Dale's property and turn around and leave. Again, kids are out playing sometime. I mean, I don't have my grandkids all the time, but they do come over frequently. And the other thing this lends itself to with the commercial business and people just wanting to see what's in the neighborhood is the opportunity for crime. We don't know if people are there to buy flooring for their house or if they're there to see what's in the neighborhood. And as a residential subdivision, I mean, we recognize everybody, and as soon as we see somebody that we don't recognize, my wife has called the police a couple of times, and before you know it, they're up in the subdivision. Now, are we gonna call every time he has people driving around his commercial business? Is he gonna, you know, so I see that as safety for everybody. You know, I don't want my house broken into. I don't think any of my neighbors do. I don't want my grandchildren hit if they're out there playing. And I don't think anybody else that has grandchildren do. And I think this is going to add just a lot of undue traffic, you know, to the subdivision and make it basically unsafe.
Dennis, thank you very much for your comments. Anything? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone? Don't mean to keep repeating myself, but just name and address for me, please.
No problem. Thomas Hauser, 10784 Schneider Place. I've been a resident in that area for over 27 years. Both my kids were born when I lived there. My biggest issue with what they're proposing kind of ties into the safety issue. When they first redid 231 and they put in the curbs, and then the entrance to both subdivision, they redid the road. The one on the east side, they didn't even make that road wide enough with the curbs so 2 cars can even pass each other. They had to come in and actually widen that area. Now it's just a barely fit between those curbs for the 2 cars to people coming in and people coming out of that subdivision. It's just really dangerous. The other thing that I see a lot of is I go to work in the morning, most of the mornings, just getting out of the subdivision and turning right to go west on 231 is pretty bad. And I see all the people taking that little side road, the shortcut, going past Coin to get onto 41, because I'm sitting there waiting to get on 231 for minutes, and nobody wants to let you in. And to the point where when they widened it, now you have a lot of traffic just going to the right, and even trying to turn right, it's kind of hard to do. So that's my comment as far as just the roadways and the increased amount of traffic that is going to be coming in and out of that subdivision. And the road right now, it's not, if you guys ever saw it, you can't pass 2 cars there really safely. And if somebody's going slow, it's going to get hit. I know some of the other issues that have gone on with that area, with the farm stand, with people not being able to see properly if there were cars, in his little parking lot there. I know he had some issues with some flags and stuff, but people turning left off of that east side street there, it was kind of hard even turning left onto 231. So we're just increasing traffic by putting something commercial in there. And I'm 2 doors down from where Dale's currently building the house. Just anybody coming to my home over the past few months, it was kind of like a reaction of, what is that? It doesn't even fit in with the neighborhood. A 2-story house. I have a tri-level, so yeah, I'm a little taller than the ranch, but a 2-story house where everything else is a ranch style, it just doesn't fit. So that just makes me also question, what else is going to be planned? What else is he going to be able to put up there where a majority of the people that live there question why a 2-story house? They wanted it to fit in, but he did it anyways. And I'm sure he did it. He had to do it with some sort of blessing. The plans had to be approved. That's my concern.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the comments. Is there anyone else regarding Lettings, second edition, public hearing? Anyone else? Sergio, did we get anything else online?
We received an email, a letter received via email, dated February 28th. It should be in your packets. It's a 2-page letter. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm looking at the wrong application. We have not received anything regarding electronically regarding item C 2022-01, Lentens, second edition.
All right, very good. At this time, I'm going to keep public hearing, the hearing open, and just to give the board some understanding. In talking with Ken, as you know, I usually receive a letter from the town engineer stating the review of the primary plat. If it's satisfactory, if it's met all. Ken has not received all the information for us even to put that letter together for us to decide any type of motion on a primary plat. Ken, is that an accurate statement?
Well, this case is kind of unusual in that they're asking for a primary plat approval and a rezoning at the same time. I don't have anything to review it against. I mean, do I review it against what he's asking for zoning? Or do do I review it for what's there right now as primary plat and then have him come in for a rezone to these 2 different zones that he wants now? So there's not enough information on any of the submittals that I got to show existing utilities, detention. I have a 4-page checklist that I would have to go through, and none of the boxes are checked. So yeah, first we have to decide how we want to handle this. Do we do it as a subdivision first, and it's whatever the zoning is now? I think it's R2, I believe. Review it on that, and then have him come back to request rezone.
And as the board knows, that we make the authority on the primary plat, but a rezone is only a recommendation.
Right.
So just for those in the public out there, the Plan Commission only makes a recommendation to the town council. The town council has the ultimate authority for the rezone. So just so everybody understands that, it's only a recommendation at this point. Sergio, I mean, is the approach, I thought we would do primary plat first and then a rezone discussion? Is that how we?
I believe that's the idea, that you want to do your primary plat first and then follow through with a rezone. If you move forward with a rezone initially, then you would have to create a legal description of what could be potentially lot 2 of a rezone.
So, and then having those discussions with the town engineer and the city or town planner is why I think it would be ideal at this point to keep the public hearing open. Give the petitioner, Mr. Lentens, time to get the documents he needs for us to make a decision on a primary plat. And this board then could entertain that discussion. And then with that, having that, however this board goes, then make a recommendation to the town council on planning. So, Mr. Lenting, if, at this time, I would just suggest at this point, we defer any action at this time, have Mr. Lenting as his right to submit all the documents that Ken needs for us then to consider the replat of this site to Lot 1 and a Lot 2, and then once that, whatever decision this board makes, then we would consider the rezone. But I do, Ken, before the board makes any decision, this street, several members brought it up, and if this, and I'm only hypothetical, if it does get a favorable recommendation and the town council makes a favorable recommendation, would that road have to be improved from a residential to a commercial? And that would be on the petitioner, his responsibility to make those improvements? Just like if it changes to any other classification, higher density?
Wouldn't it be the whole subdivision road?
Sir.
It would be at least along his frontage.
So it'd be along the frontage of the,
That would be pretty much the whole east side of the eastern.
sir, wait, sir, I respect your comments. If public hearing, I know it's still open. I just can't have this discussion. I can't, we're gonna have a public comment afterwards, after this meeting. You're more than welcome to come back up, but, so from my understanding, Ken, he would have to make improvements based on our zoning ordinance of that road along the frontage of the commercial.
Right, unless you guys, as a commission, give waivers from road widths, curbs, sidewalks.
Okay, I just want
And
to,
pavement thickness.
because I don't know if the petitioner is even aware that improvement would have to be made. Okay. So at this time, from my understanding, we do not have enough information or the documentation to make any decision. And so at this time, the public hearing is still open. We will continue it to our next meeting in April. And at that, as long as that information is turned into Ken, so Mr. Lenting, if you could work with our town engineer to get all that. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to defer action, knowing that the public hearing is still open for April.
Before we do that,
Yep, absolutely.
I'm not sure what he wants to do here. Lot 2, is it what's the zoning of Lot 2? Dale?
The residential lot?
Lot 2.
Dale, could you come up to the podium, please, sir? So it's currently residential right now, correct, Sergio?
Correct. Lot 1 and Lot 2 have not been platted. It's a proposed plat. The current legal description is identified as Lot 6. The entire parcel of Lot 6 is zoned R2.
R2. And you want to make Lot 2 commercial?
Correct.
And Lot 1
Residential.
R2. And where do you live at in this
Right
subdivision?
next door to
He lives
that.
up in that corner.
Up in there, okay. And you have a business out of your house? No? Okay.
It sounds like he has some sort of
I
stand
do
in
own a
front.
business, but, yeah, sometimes.
Oh, you have a fruit stand or vegetable stand? Okay, but it's not all
I do
year.
agree that that street is narrow right there, and that curb should be widened right off of 231, because it is a tight entry for two cars there.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay.
I just wanted to, that's what I thought you were doing, but I wanted to make sure.
So, Mr. Lenting, my recommendation again is you have every right to make this request, work with our town engineer so he can make a or some sort of or letter to this board for our determination. We have a study session in 2 weeks. And then again, the public hearing is still open, so whoever was here tonight, come back again. Unfortunately, come back again, or there's going to be time after all these other public hearings to make any additional comments. So with that, I will entertain a motion to defer at this time.
I'll make the motion to defer, Lenting second edition to St. John and rezone.
I got a motion.
April 6th meeting, sorry.
No, you're good. No, you did it perfect. I got a motion to defer by Yolanda to the April 6th meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
I got a second by Bob. Discussion, comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. And for those individuals that came out tonight, thank you very much. It's good to get a local perspective on that information, so thank you. And again, there's public comment, the last agenda item, so you can come up and speak again at that time if you want.
Tonight.
Tonight. Come up back up tonight. Next on the agenda, we have Montgomery Estates. This is a proposed preliminary primary replat of Castle Rock Phase 1, lots 5 and 6. Doug, go ahead.
Good evening, Doug Reddick with DVG. Mr. Montgomery is here tonight as well, the owner of the property. Does anybody need a handout? I do have paper copies. Sergio's got it up there, or it's up to you guys. I got handouts if you want them.
Good.
This one's pretty straightforward. They own 2 lots in Castle Rock, lots 5 and 6. They wish to combine them into one larger lot. Altogether, it's about 2 acres, as I recall. So because it's in Castle Rock, all the existing improvements are in place. Sanitary sewer, storm sewer, water main, as well as the curbs. Of course, sidewalks will go in as part of when the home is built. So this intention is very simple, combine 2 lots into one. And that's what we're here tonight, to request primary plat approval.
All right, we got is there any questions for the board? Doug, the only comment I would have, I'd never received a letter from Ken regarding,
We talked about that briefly. There was a little confusion in my office. The drawing got to Ken pretty late. So we've talked a little bit. There's a couple of minor items that are missing from the primary plat that could easily be added.
okay.
Which are?
So, again, I don't have a letter from Ken, so just as we go through this public hearing, knowing that I don't have a engineer letter regarding primary and the request for secondary, so FYI. All right, Doug, we're gonna open up the public hearing. I'm now gonna open up public hearing for Montgomery Estates. Is there anyone here that would like to speak regarding Montgomery Estates? Is there anyone online, Sergio?
No,
Have we received any correspondence?
I have not received any correspondence as of 6:30 this evening.
All right, going once, going twice, 3 times. Public hearing for Montgomery Estates is now closed. Doug, you want to come back up? So this again is, we'll be neighbors, by the way. I live just a couple doors down, or a little bit over. This is 2 lots, existing lots they're making into one bigger lot. Again, we don't have a letter, so I guess it's up to our discretion if we want to either move forward with a primary approval contingent on Ken's final approval. Or Ken, are you comfortable with, Sergio, Adam, are we comfortable with doing that? I mean, I know we've done a contingent on a single item of a letter, but I don't know if we've ever done it without.
Can I make one comment?
You
There
could-
is already one section in there that has been combined from 2 lots to 1.
Oh.
There's already,
Yeah.
lots 11 and 12 have been combined into 1 lot.
Yeah.
You're aware of that?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I'm just, sometimes the
I
engineer gives us
understand
cover
paperwork.
that,
Yeah, paperwork.
I would just tell you, as long as it's contingent on some sort of review, but again, I don't want to exceed.
I did have time to take a look at the newest version of it, and what's on the screen right now is not the newest version. It doesn't have any of the utilities or some of the other things, the
I can show you all
signature.
electric sidewalk units going.
The
I can
things.
show you- I can pull up on my phone, I can show you all the
Oh,
utilities.
they're on the new, they're on the new one
Yeah.
that Doug sent.
Mr. Montgomery,
But there was 3
I know.
things that were not on the drawings. That was floodplain information from FEMA,
Benchmark?
the benchmark, and the finish grade for the house that's gonna sit on here. However, Castle Rock Phase 1 has all that information on it, and all that needs to be done is to copy it from one onto the other.
It was just an oversight with the drafting. All the information is there, it's just got to be put on the drawing, so it's very straightforward.
So I'm comfortable with giving primary plat approval contingent upon the completion of the review and the,
We'll come back
the
for
fee is
secondary.
$1,500.
That's paid.
Right, because there's no public improvements, they're already there. But I wouldn't feel comfortable in giving the secondary plat approval at this time.
We'll come back for secondary, we're not.
It's not
Sir-
even on here.
They would have requested it,
Okay.
since it's residential.
Okay.
And that's probably when I would have to ask you guys to add it to the agenda. Sergio, what's your comfort level?
I agree with Engineer Ken Kraus. If the commission feels comfortable with granting primary plat, contingent upon a letter being, or eventually being submitted, and then returning for final plat on April 6th.
Okay. Questions, comments for the board? If not, I will entertain a motion. Just, again, any motion we make, let's make sure we have a contingent on Ken's final review and finding of facts, please.
I'll make a motion to approve primary plat for Montgomery Estates contingent upon the findings of fact and Ken's letter being produced and the petitioner meeting all the items needed for Ken's letter.
I have a motion from John for approval of primary plat, referencing finding of facts and contingent on Ken's final review. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Bob. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have the Hart Joliet subdivision. This is a proposed preliminary for a one-lot subdivision at 10460 Joliet Street, and it is located in the northwest corner of Joliet Street and Hart, and it is currently zoned industrial.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Tim, Doug, do you guys want to give the board a first name and for the record, and then description of what you're requesting?
Absolutely. Tim Kuiper here, Austin Kuiper Justitis, PC, on behalf of Lake County Trust Company, number 5587. Along with me tonight is Doug Reddick from DBG Team, Inc., project engineer. We have an approximately 13-acre site on the corner of Hart Street and Joliet. We are proposing a one-lot subdivision for that parcel. Your ordinance currently requires any industrial lot to have 10 acres as a subdivided lot. Being that it's barely almost 13, that requires a one-lot subdivision. The one-lot subdivision is also required to do anything moving forward. So to have any contemplated building or anything on it, this is the first step. It's already zoned industrial. It would require a proposed use to come back. It would require a development plan. There's a lot of other approvals that are still required again, but this is the first step. One of the items that Doug brought up last time is that there are significant challenges to this site. And so in consultation with Doug, what we did is we submitted the map, the colored map that's in front of you and on the screen. The orange on there is floodway. Floodway, you can't do anything in floodway. You can't put a sidewalk, you can't put a curb, you can't add asphalt to the road in there. The yellow is floodplain. Now floodplain, you can do some things, but it's still restricted. It requires a lot of things to do that. And then the green is wetlands, just to show the complete picture for this site. So when Doug had indicated before it would be a challenge to do anything on Hart Street, you can see that orange runs almost the complete length of the property's eastern boundary along there. And again, we can't put in a sidewalk, can't put in curb, can't add asphalt, just can't do it with that orange. Now, on Juliet Street, you have yellow there. So there's some opportunity to maybe do something there, but with the grade that's there coming off of Joliet, and then you have it going up to the tracks, and you can't go over the tracks with the sidewalk, nor even really improve that in that area. That's why we're requesting the sidewalk and curb waiver, because of those physical challenges and legal requirements that we have to deal with a floodway. Does that make sense? Because that was a lot real quick. But I
Yeah.
think the color really helps to show why it's a problem, not just some lines, because those get lost sometimes in what you're trying to see.
So just, if you can't do anything in the floodway, where's the curb cut for the business gonna be?
So we would still have to work through extra jurisdictional for that. They can't deny access to the parcel, so it'll probably be towards the northern portion of the property there.
We're gonna need a special permit.
Yeah.
For a little bit of construction in the floodway, and we believe, because it's the only way to access the property, we have a chance of getting it, but very, very minor impact to the floodway. Larger impacts are typically not permittable.
So you couldn't ask for a permit for along Hart Street? That would be considered too large?
For access?
Yeah.
We can't access the property from Hart Street.
I'm saying for road improvements.
Joliet Street. I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. From Joliet Street?
No, from Hart Street, road improvements. He said you can't do any road improvements or sidewalks in a floodway.
Yeah, so
But can you get granted a permit to improve the roads from, I'm assuming it would be county or DNR or something?
I don't want to say anything's impossible, but nearly impossible. It's just because it's floodway. If it was floodplain, there's all kinds of ways to work around that, to raise things up.
Compensatory storage.
But floodway is a huge problem.
It has to do with the amount of fill that you place, and you're taking a volume in what's called a floodway.
Mhm.
A driveway, 30 foot by 30 foot is a very, very minute amount. But if we were to put fill all along the road, now it's affecting the floodwaters and the flow
Right.
of that water. And that's where the problem, if we can't alter the flood elevation by more than 1/10 of a foot, and if you do, it's a big deal to get it permitted. It would take years.
So Doug, at our study session, I know we talked about the sidewalk, and Ken concurred, if we put we talked about sidewalk waivers and curb and gutter, we put a sidewalk out there, the road floods when you get a heavy rain. This is zoned industrial, and there are other requirements. That road is not up to our current standards for an industrial roadway. So you want to make this as it's currently an industrial site, zone industrial. However, you're looking to create a one-lot subdivision that will house which is legally eligible to house something industrial, but the roadway is not built for industrial. And now with the floodway issues, you're saying it won't be able to be improved to our current standards of zoning or width for an entity that can potentially have larger size vehicles running on that roadway.
So within your industrial classification, there's a lot of permitted uses that do not require trucks, would not have trucks coming on site. So the one lot is required to move forward with the development plan and finding a potential user of it. Then we would see who could go in there with these issues that we have on this roadway. There's weight limits right now. You could have a professional office in there with cars coming in there, and that's not a problem. That's a permitted use in the industrial zone. There's a lot of them, if you go through your zoning ordinance, that are permitted uses that do not rise to the level of what you consider an industrial use. But
One gentleman wanted to operate like a landscape outfit, so he was gonna basically have a shop for a landscape outfit. I think he's passed on the property, but stuff like that, we're not looking for industrial, we're looking for neighborhood-friendly type of development.
But you would potentially need a waiver for that, the width of the roadway
We are asking for several waivers, yes.
tonight.
Yes.
Even though we don't know what entity potentially,
Well, and realistically, we can't have a truck coming in and out of there because they would get a ticket every time because of the weight limits on it. So we understand limits of what we can do there also.
But if we give you a waiver,
That's just from the design. That doesn't mean
Right.
that you still can't
It-
regulate your roadway and the weight limits on
We
it.
still have to come back for site plan approval with what we want to build there. We know that. Is there a weight limit on the road? We know what that weight limit is. It just says no trucks. Is what,
I do not know.
so what does it mean? It says no trucks. Pickup trucks? Semi trucks, of course. So, I mean, that's one of our questions. What is the actual weight limit? Because if it's something like 10,000 pounds for small vehicles, it's not a problem.
How would you guys even access this property? Where
Have
would,
one driveway somewhere near the north end. It won't be all the way to the north end. We're gonna do it at one of the skinniest portions of the floodway, so we minimize the permitting and the impact to get that approved. We feel pretty confident for it's such a small impact to the floodway, we can get that approved.
all right?
you'd look like you'd be crossing the skinniest part and then driving through the drainage basin that shows right there.
Probably writing that up in that area, but again, that has to be
It won't
looked
be in
at,
the
so,
base,
yeah.
it'll be near that easement line is what the plan is. There's also a lot of topography we have to deal with, so we need to make the driveway a little bit longer to get, because obviously all the other, the part that's not colored in is high ground. It's way above the base flood elevation. There's acres of usable land there, but the access is tricky. Of course, sanitary and sewer and water main are already in place along the road, so we won't be doing any construction along the road. All we really need to put in is a 30-foot wide driveway from Hart Street, back 30, 40 feet, get out of the floodway, and then everything else is smooth sailing after that.
Any other questions before I open up the public hearing? All right, gentlemen, I'm going to open up the public hearing. I got a note here that the requirements have been met for a public hearing. At this time, I am going to open up the Hart Joliet subdivision, proposed preliminary plat for one lot subdivision. Public hearing is now open. I'm going to, I assume anyone that hasn't spoke earlier wants to speak regarding this public hearing. So is there a Jane Kaiser?
She was with the artesian well.
Okay. Harold Yake or York? York?
He's with the artesian.
He's with the artesian. Thank you. Oh, man. Cheryl Neri?
She's with the artesian.
Okay.
You must have signed on the wrong.
No. It was just one sheet. So, Judith Pencala? Would you like to make any comments?
Well, we were under
Could-
the impression that this was gonna be a trucking.
So if you would just state your name and address for the record, please?
Judith Pincala,
Okay,
9725 Hart Street.
thank you.
My husband actually submitted a letter to the Secretary of Plan Commission. It said, "We strongly object concerning the subdivision of an industrial district parcel on said property. Hart Street has no truck sign already posted on Joliet Street and Hart on the west corner of the street. Trucks are not allowed on Hart Street from Joliet Street to 93rd Street, as posted by St. John. Plus, before and after hours, traffic during work hour is very heavy to cross Joliet Street from Three Springs subdivision to go west or north to 93rd Street is also the same. Damage of Hart Street Road will be done if trucks travel from Joliet to 93rd on this road. We have a lot of building going on the east side of St. John, the big homes that are going in there, and don't need this industrial district to cause more traffic in the area. Both Joliet and 93rd Avenue are the only 2 lanes and should have been 4 lanes for all of the home building being constructed in the east of the village township. We should not be adding trucks in the area to add a problem to get onto Joliet or 93rd. Our home values will go down if they put an industrial district parcel in this area, and children that live on the east side of that street don't need to be put into an endangered environment with heavy trucks going up and down Hart Street. It's been enough. We have trains blowing all hours of the day. We don't need truck noises on top of it. Fact is, it will affect our environment with both pollution, noise, and congestion. And I am hopeful that St. John Board will agree that this needs to be rejected and as it has been in the past, and to be considered in their judgment by protecting the homeowners as well as the St. John Township, and recognizing we don't need this in this area. It will be damaging to our environment and safety as well.
Ms. McCullough, thank you very much for your comment. The letter that she read is actually in our packet. So, Mr. McCullough, did you have any comments, Ray? Mr. Ray McCullough?
No, I submitted that.
We have it in our packet, sir. Thank you. Jack Ristima? All right, thank you, sir. Karen Ristena? Resima, do you want to come up and? Barbara Neary? Okay, thank you. There's a Tim Neary and a Brad Lampert. Anyone else want to speak regarding this? Sir, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Bill Keith. I'm at 10455 West 93rd Avenue. Do you guys mind if I walk over just to point out something on the map? Or
The problem is they won't be able to hear you. I apologize.
So you guys know where the VFW is?
Yes.
I own the farmhouse across the street is my family homestead. So I was raised there. I raised my kids there, and one of my kids are going to inherit it someday, and then they'll raise their kids there. And it was the farm for all this land in question. And actually, when I was a kid, we still had the gates and the fences up because all that land that's a wetland now was grazable pasture land for cows. And the reason it's a wetland right now, part of the reason is because in the 1920s, because of hard times and Whiting and Hammond not having any dirt, it was all sand. They strip mined out all the topsoil and took it to Hammond and Whiting so that people could grow a lawn up there. So it wasn't necessarily wetland. It isn't native wetland, I should say. What's made that land wet for the last 30 years is, I'll just call it, trying to think of a politically correct way to say it, but the county that's responsible for the Harts Ditch that runs through there, the St. John Ditch, they haven't done a good job of keeping that dredging on a good schedule. So usually they would come out every few years and they would dredge that Harts Ditch, and then the water would flow and the mosquitoes were non-existent. We'd have wonderful summers because they would dredge it and it would really keep everything really nice and dry. I grew up riding motorcycles down there. We had, jumps and trails, and it was a great place to play. So some of these wetland issues are because it hasn't been dredged for a long time, and then the continuing problem with the culvert going underneath the railroad tracks at, what does it go underneath? Is it Joliet? It goes underneath Hart Street, then it goes under Joliet. And I actually had to call, I think it's CSX. I'm not sure if it's CXX or BNFS or something that controls the tracks. I actually had to get a hold of a friend of mine that knows the CEO of the company, and then I called their maintenance guys because it was all caving in like last year. And I inspected it and called them, and they came and did some minor repairs because what happens is underneath that culvert, all the limestone was caving in and then backing up the water. And then again, it's a huge wetland and it's a huge problem. So we would solve a lot of these problems by just keeping the ditch open. When I was a kid, like I said, we used to play out there a lot. So, so that would help the development of property. I'm all for this thing. I mean, I'm a lifer here. I rode my bike up and down the street. My kids rode their bike up and down the street. I appreciate all the comments of people that are here that don't want to see any more growth or progress or the development because they're worried about traffic. Well, when I was a kid, we played ball in the street in front of the VFW, and we had to move off the street every once in a while when a tractor would be coming by. So aren't you guys all glad that my parents didn't throw a fit for development, or else none of you guys would be here, probably, right? So it was old farmland, but we were trying to mesh something usable for the land that's also good for the people that own it. And I'm for this development. I think it's a good use of the land. I think if we, again, just kind of maybe put some pressure on the county to get that ditch dredged out again. And then I think there's something blocking the pipes going underneath Hart Street, because the west side of Hart Street seems like the water level's pretty low. The east side of Hart Street, it's pretty high. So I have a feeling that the beavers, beavers shouldn't be in that creek because they're not native to that creek. The only reason they're coming is because it's getting backed up. So I think there must be some branches or something clogging the east side of those pipes. And if somebody could take a look at that, I've done it, you guys. I got waders. I mean, I used to clean the beaver dams out of there all the time, and I just got tired of it. My wife's like, don't miss dinner one more time to clean another beaver dam, you know, so. But that's what's going on. I'm only saying all this to help you guys maybe have a little background if you didn't know about that land. I think it's a great use of the property, and I'd be all for it. I'd love to see that get used, because right now it's kind of a wasted piece of property. It was zoned industrial at one time because St. John felt like it was a good place for industrial land, and I think it still is. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public? Sergio, should I read Carlos' letter for the record, or?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
I don't have to read his email, just the one letter, the
Correct,
two-page?
just the one letter he submitted.
All right, let me get a drink of water, if you give me a second.
It's a two-pager, yes.
I got a two-page letter, so. Oh. So this is a letter that was received, February 28, 2022, from Carlo Dema, 9701 Hart Street, St. John, Indiana. Dear Plan Commission, to whom it may concern, I am writing to you today with the intent of submitting a written remonstrance concerning the subdivision application of parcel 45-11-33-180-001.000-035 with a net acreage of 13.38 and currently classified as property industrial/vacant land. I have received legal notice regarding the subdivision of the industrial district parcel of real estate containing approximately 13 acres more or less of unimproved real estate in the town of St. John directly adjacent to my house. The general geographical area that is subject to the subdivision is bounded on the west by the CSX Railroad tracks, to the north to the Little Rascal Academy, to the east by Hart Street, and the south by Juliet Street, parentheses, the parcel. The parcel is surveyed and meets and bounds subdivision and does not meet the local development standards in the town of St. John, and therefore the owners cannot obtain a building permit. Character. According to Chapter 9 of the Subdivision Control Ordinance for the state of Indiana, industrial subdivision lots can vary greatly in size depending on the type of use they are attracting, but an industrial subdivision is usually in proximity to major thoroughfares and interstates in order to allow convenient access for large trucks and semi-trucks. Hart Street is not a major thoroughfare, nor is it a interstate, and further, it is not a minor arterial or minor collector of our town. Hart Street mainly serves as a route for the residents who live in the residential subdivisions nearby and has been designated as no trucks. The use of Hart Street and the potential industrial parcel is incredibly contradictory to the character of the area. Specifically, I mean the subdivision and neighborhoods being built off of Juliet Street and Hart Street. For this reason, the parcel subdivision should not be granted and no building permit should be issued. Environment. Currently, the parcel has old-grown trees on it and serves as, oh man, riparian habitat for birds, deers, and native plants and trees. A riparian zone, or a riparian area, is an interface between land and the river or stream, in this case, the St. John Ditch. Plants, habitats, and communities along the stream margins and banks are called riparian vegetation, characterized by hydrophilic plants. Riparian zones are important in ecology, environmental resource management, and civil engineering because of the role in soil conservation, their habitat biodiversity, and the influence they have on fauna and aquatic ecosystems, including grasslands, woodlands, wetlands, and even non-vegetative areas. This area serves as an animal corridor as well. The massive old-growth trees serve this lot by pulling groundwater up through the roots, creating water absorption and stopping flooding. If the parcel were to be clear-cut for a subdivision industrial project, massive flooding would occur, and this low-lying section of Hart Street would be underwater every time there was a big rain. Substantial improvements to the St. John Ditch would need to be made that would be costly and time-consuming. The town of St. John has already proven its inability to adequately manage water resources and water infrastructure. For example, the increased issues with local flooding, the long-standing sewer project underway on Route 41, and the fluctuating level of heavy metals in town water, forcing residents to buy expensive water filtration systems. How can we trust that the town of St. John and the applicants will be able to overcome these issues with the parcel in regards to the flooding and mismanagement of the environment? This further supports the denial of this subdivision and subsequent potential building permit. Pollution. According to data presented by the US EPA, the area of Lake County has become increasingly polluted by PM 2.5 particulate matter. Specifically, PM 2.5 originates from trucking activity and local traffic. It is also generated by road dust and local industry. According to the US EPA EJ screen tools available publicly online, St. John currently is on the very outskirts of this problem. Unfortunately, by introducing new industrial parcels such as the parcel this letter focuses on, it is almost certain that air pollution levels will continue to rise and our air quality will be degraded. Any subdivision of the parcel and subsequent building of this industrial type facility on it has not gone and likely will not go through any environmental impact analysis or environmental assessment, and such would negatively affect the air we breathe. I also want to highlight the noise generated by an industrial project business would be a nuisance to the neighborhood who live nearby. Further, the neighbors in this area just got done going through the Juliet Street rebuild, and we will not be happy with have more constructive noise, road dust, road blockage any time in the near future. This further supports the denial of this subdivision and subsequent potential building permit. Notification. Further, and to my last point, according to IC 36-7-4-702 through 708, after the preliminary plat has gone through the application phase and internal review phase, it is supposed to be set to a public hearing within 30 days of receiving a completed application. Notifying adjacent property owners is the responsibility of the applicant, and the applicant should have announced the date of the public hearing and provided public notice to the surrounding property owners within at least 30 days. The letter I received in the mail was stamped February 14, 2022, meaning I only had 15 days to review it. Actually, less because it didn't arrive in my home until February 18, 2022. I had to be home to receive it since the letter was sent as certified mail. So like me, my neighbors probably did not receive any notice whatsoever. With this in mind, the application has not fully met the statute set forth in Chapter 9 of the Subdivision Control Ordinance Procedure. This further supports the denial of this subdivision and subsequent potential building permit. The application did not take into consideration the impact of potential development resulting from the subdivision of the parcel. The subdivision does not meet the characters of the area it is in and has the potential of the degradation of quality of life for the residents who live nearby. The town of St. John has failed to plan accordingly for the expansion of our community that these lots split generate. Since I have lived here, the town of St. John has not fully proven the ability to ensure that there are adequate facilities such as parks, streets, utilities, drainage, electrical utilities, and other infrastructure to handle the development of the lots created by this subdivision and others. Sincerely, Carlo Dema. I think that is the only other, the Pincala, she read your letter that we received in the packet, so I shouldn't have to read that. I think we are, Sergio, do you want me to read the email where you responded, or no?
No, the email
Okay.
that was in your packet was in response to Mr. Dema's questions, and then he redirected it towards the letter that he submitted, which you just read.
Okay. All right. Public hearing is still open at this time. Is there anyone else that would like to comment before I close public hearing? Public hearing going once.
The only other thing.
Sir, I unfortunately, I need you to speak into the microphone. And if you would just state your name and address again, sir, I appreciate that.
Raymond Pincala, 9725 Hart Street. The only other thing I wanted to bring up with Hart Street is when you turn from 93rd onto Hart Street, on the west side corner there, there's a big pothole. I called Public Works, they patched it. Through the winter, the thing is real wide now. It needs to be filled because it's gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. Believe me, if anybody hits that with their tire, it'll blow their tire out. The other one is about 100 foot from Joliet on the same side of the street, the west side. There's a bad pothole starting there. It's kind of low already, needs to be patched. Otherwise, they're gonna get bigger and bigger.
All right.
And I just wanted to bring that up. If Public Works can patch that, it'll help it, street from getting damaged for, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Pincala. With that, any other comments from the public for the public hearing? If not, going once, going twice. Public hearing is now closed. Doug, Tim, gentlemen, if you've heard some of the comments and you hear me read that beautiful letter, if you have any responses to that, that would be great for the board to consider.
Yes, I think you did an awesome job with the letter. Riparian rights is awesome.
That was a big word for me. I couldn't, yeah, that was tough.
Last time I heard that, anyway, when it comes, I mean, the letter is what it is. When it comes to the notifications, those have already been opined on by Sergio plus the attorney, and I believe those are in order per your rules.
Mhm.
So I believe that's not a correct.
It's 10 days notice. So.
Not a correct concern on that. When it comes to the rest of it, there's obviously water issues there. We've identified those as floodway, floodplain, and wetlands. We have a unique piece of property here. We've otherwise met the subdivision requirements, you know, including having 10 acres for one lot for an industrial. It's been zoned industrial. There's been plenty of opportunity before this for the town to rezone it. But we're just kind of stuck with what it is, and we have real hardships here along the street that necessitate the waivers in this case. I've come in before asking for waivers because we didn't want to put in the sidewalk because they go to nowhere. That's true here, but we literally can't put them in. So this is, again, really a unique situation that I don't think I've ever been in front of before with you guys and asking for something like this. It's going to be screened. There's plenty of uses that could be utilized as permitted under industrial today without further impacting the road with, you know, no trucks. We have to come back for the development plan anyway to present where the roadway would be going onto the parcel, lights, landscaping, I mean, the whole gambit of things that are already underneath your ordinance for those things. So, but that's round two. So again, I think we've answered the questions, and I mean.
I want to add just a couple of things. It's absolutely correct. This is a legal drain. The county surveyor's office does control St. John ditch running through here. They can be contacted to do some cleaning. It sounds like it hasn't been done in quite a while, and I believe that is true. I also want to say that the intention is not to clear cut the whole piece of property. A lot of the property is going to be left in its natural state. The whole south end of the property, it's not developable. We're not going to clear cut that. There's no reason to do that. We want to work on the high ground. I also want to add that we will be putting stormwater detention in to meet your ordinances when we do the site plan. So we're not going to be shedding more water in. We'll be detaining our water before we release it into the appropriate waterways. So, there's more work to be done, but like Tim says, we're here for simply the subdivision tonight.
Okay.
I got a question.
Okay.
If sidewalk was to be put in, if that sidewalk wasn't raised above the existing ground elevation, would that still be frowned upon?
can't put-
Because you're not changing the
Yeah,
elevation.
You can't put anything in the flood, like literally, if you add another layer of asphalt to the road.
No, I'm not saying
So-
raise it.
So he's
No,
saying
I'm
remove
saying-
material.
I'm saying
You-
keep
even if
it,
you- Even if you remove and put in, you're still having problems in the floodway. Floodplain is different.
right,
Floodplain is different. You could remove and then add, and that's a different set of story.
but floodway, even if you're not changing the elevation height.
It's the construction in the floodway.
Construction.
that's prohibited. A lot of it has to do with fill. I
Okay.
understand what you're saying, Bob. Remove the material and put it back in concrete. I don't know how they would look at that, because the rule is no construction.
Plus, if that freezes every year, that sidewalk's gonna be garbage within every
Yeah.
2 years, and we're gonna be paying to replace it, so.
So Sergio or Ken, do we know what is there restrictions on Hart Street for load? Do we know
I
if
know that
there's,
there's no truck signs out there, but I don't know if there is a load limit.
in our
That-
ordinance?
That would have gone through probably Public Works and probably the police department.
I looked on Google Maps and I didn't see any signs that had a load limit,
No, it just says no truck.
no trucks.
So don't quote me exactly, but my understanding by town ordinance is that no trucks means 10,000 or more. So it's something that could be looked into, but I believe that's the limit.
So just, it's already zoned industrial. It's a chicken and the egg, right? If we give a waiver to certain aspects of this site plan and you come in, you can put in a heavy 18-wheeler in there. If, what you say, the ordinance doesn't really exist or isn't in our ordinance. So that's what I don't know if we hold it back until we know what your business is.
Why we could try to do that, the police would be out there every day ticketing every person that would come in and out of the property because of the violation there. So that doesn't work for any user of the property. Like I said, it's gonna have to be compatible with the restrictions on the road. And there are plenty of permitted, not variances of use, permitted in the industrial zone right now that would fall underneath that without a problem.
And I understand that. I understand what you're saying. But if a waiver is approved for the sidewalk and whatever, then that waiver has been approved. And then any industrial classification, whether it's small trucks, Jim, I trust you. You're telling me this is what our ordinance says. I don't know that unless we could look it up, that our ordinance currently says no trucks, and then we know that limit. Unfortunately, I don't know that answer right now. And right now, I would feel uncomfortable with at least the road waiver. I mean, we talked about the sidewalk before, it floods out there. And, like we don't like to do sidewalks to nowhere, or we like to put them in. This one has a floodway issue. And even our town attorney said it would not be good to put curbs there. So I'm just concerned, what type of control do we have if the waiver goes through, it's already zoned industrial, and then now we have a subpar road until I can get verification on the no truck, and we can have a better understanding of what limits are. That's all, that's my only hiccup right now, it's that.
As a suggestion, the town council ultimately controls roadways and things like that, so that would be ideal for them to take a look at, and if they need to put some restriction on that and classify, 10,000 or more, whatever, they could certainly do that. That still wouldn't impact the waiver because we can't physically do it. So waivers are a requirement under subdivision ordinances where you really can't do something because of what the imposition is. And that's what the statute says under Indiana code. That's codified in St. John's ordinances, and so that's why we're here. I mean, these are not waivers. I'd rather come in with a subdivision and say, we met all the requirements, you have to approve.
It's a lot easier.
Adam-
It's similar in this respect, just you can't physically, legally do these four things.
Adam, does that, in your legal opinion, if the board decides to move forward with this, to have a contingency that the town council puts a weight restriction?
No, I think Mr. Kuiper's point is accurate in that we have to examine the application in the context of the subdivision control ordinance as it's currently written, not on future action to be considered by the town council regarding weight restrictions or imposing weight restrictions. So no, I don't think it would be appropriate to condition or make any type of approval contingent on some future action by the town council regarding weight limits on Hart Street. And for your information, I did a quick search of the town code. I can't find anything, at least immediately available, regarding any ordinances or actual weight limits on Hart Street. That's not to say it hasn't been adopted at some point by ordinance in the past, but I can't find anything online doing a search of the town code, so.
Sergio, anything for the cause?
No, I agree. I think we need to research the weight limit and then understand when and how that road was classified. But if the requirements of the subdivision control ordinance have been met, then, you know.
All right. Well, for the board, I want to read this into the record. This is Ken's letter regarding Hart Joliet subdivision, Deer Plan Commission. I have reviewed the primary plat for the reference project and have the following comments. 1, this project is a one-lot subdivision zoned industrial and contains 11.62 acres. 2, we have reviewed the primary plat and find it to be satisfactory with the following exceptions. 1, there are no sidewalks planned. 2, there are no curbs planned. C, the existing Hart Street width is 18 plus or minus. Subdivision control ordinance requires a 30-foot street width. The existing Hart Street pavement does not meet subdivision control ordinance required thickness for streets in industrial zoned areas. The development fee for this project is undetermined at the time, pending any waivers that may be granted. If you have any questions, please call this office. So, they're requesting a primary plat with exceptions for sidewalks, curbs, width of Hart Street, because they would have to add 6 feet, right? 12 feet to their side. And they would have to meet the subdivision control required thickness for the streets in that zoned area. And now, as we know, we're looking at the orange, that would be. So I will open up for discussions, comments. Well, I'll jump in there. After talking with Ken at study session, I mean, the sidewalk issue, even though I'm usually on a soapbox about sidewalks, Ken has agreed that, has confirmed that it would not be an appropriate location for sidewalks and/or curbs. Understanding what Tim and Doug are saying with the site and what type of trucks can be used, I think it's what control we still have left. If we allow the waivers for this road until we determine what the weight classification is, they then have every right, because it's owned industrial, to put any type of facility. Why they're saying they would use certain considerations, they would not be bound by any rule to do that. So that is my only hiccup right now, is Hart Street is a narrow road. It is, as if anyone drives down it, it is, you know, I guess it would not meet a thickness of industrial lot, even though I just think until I wouldn't feel comfortable making any sort of determination now until I knew what that weight classification was, and it would sort of restrict the type of industrial activity within that area.
And again, I appreciate the concern, but it's not at this board level. That's why I'm suggesting that as a separate item, you request the town council look at that, because that's within their purview to regulate and control. We've got months ahead of us. We've got to come in for a development plan with the proposed use and the locations and all that stuff. We've got months still. But that all lies with the town council for those regulations, so there's nothing that this body's gonna necessarily fix with that. We're stuck with trying to meet the requirements that are in place today and the things that we can't.
Gotcha. Additional questions, comments?
No, I'm just, I was-
Discussion on waivers, because we would go through the waiver process first.
I just want to comment. So I get the issue with the sidewalk. I mean, I think pretty consistently we've been, you know, kind of pushing these sidewalks and these curbs. So I get that you just can't do it here. And also as it pertains to the curbs, I live in Three Springs, so it's literally like down the street from this area. So I very often go down this road. I get the sidewalk waiver and I get the curb waiver because, you know, I think ultimately maybe that is the reason for these waivers for circumstances like this one where you just can't put them in, right? The street width is what I think John may be having a little bit of a problem with, and I am too, just kind of digesting it. Not knowing what will be put in there, and then what John said, maybe perhaps it is approved, and then we end up having something. Oh, sorry, that caught me off guard there. Okay. My point is sidewalk and curb waivers, I understand. I'm just having a little bit of a hard time digesting the width waiver of the street as well.
And just for the board, I mean, commercial development, I think, is needed in this town. You know, right now, we're developing residential, and that's only 1% property tax. Industrial is gonna be 3%. So this is 3% property revenue for our tax to make improvements. It's just, I have concern over control. You know, I'm the baby of the family, so I want control. If we allow all these waivers, then it's up to the council to make this determination. But what if the council, I mean, hopefully in the council graces, they realize the same issue that our concern is, you know, we don't want 18 reelers running through there, and the council does that. But it's a chicken before the egg that I'm having issues with. So we could approve all the waivers and cross our fingers and hope the council approves a weight limit there. That would then put those guys in a situation where they can only allow certain type of vehicles to pass through there.
My comment on this, and I understand what Mr. Kuiper's saying about not being able to construct sidewalks or curbs on Hart Street, but I would like to see sidewalk on Joliet, because it is in the flood plain and not the floodway. I live on Joliet Street, and I see kids riding their bikes and walking on the street, and it's such a small piece, but if we don't do this piece, well, we won't do the next piece, and we won't do the
Great
next
point.
piece. So I like to at least see, and I guess my next question is the right-of-way proposed wide enough in this area? But I would like to see at least the sidewalk on Joliet on this parcel.
I do want to add, Bob, that the elevation at the right-of-way line versus the edge of pavement is probably about 6 feet lower. So the sidewalk would be several feet below the road. It can't be done.
Yeah.
And then it would have to climb severely to get over the railroad. So if we put it in at grade, getting it over the railroad will be almost impossible.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we can't do it. I want to point that out.
And I guess, maybe look at raising that grade up,
I was gonna say, can you build it up?
raise that up. Maybe not
All the way.
not all the way so that the sidewalk doesn't drain back to the sidewalk, but maybe raise it up 4 feet or You know, you'd have to look at that,
I'd
the
want to look at
grades.
the elevations, but I
Yeah.
think there's a way to do that.
Yeah.
We can at least work within that area with the sidewalk.
There we can place fill, so.
All right.
Just for the record, we've had a water main break within that hill where you want to build it up and put sidewalk. So you might want to think about, before you build it up and put the sidewalk in, maybe a water main replacement.
I don't know if that's on the developer or not. That might be
we're
the
not touching
town's,
it.
that might be the town's issue.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think there is there, Bob?
Where was the break, Bob?
Yeah, it was right in that hill.
All right.
Does it happen often, or was it a one-time thing?
I'm aware of one, but
Didn't know.
one will blow out a hill pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
So, within the last 4 years, probably.
Yeah, water main was
That's one of the.
15 years ago on Hart Street, and it went down Joliet, but that piece from Hart Street west, I don't know anything about it.
Well, I'm just saying with you wanting to build that up and put sidewalk,
One
we,
of the
we need to
original
look at that as well.
On Joliet.
All right. Well, if there's no further discussion, I'll start with the first waiver. And there is a request for waiver for a sidewalk. I agree with Bob that if there would be consideration to at least include sidewalk along Joliet Street to the southern half. So I will entertain either approval or denial of a waiver for sidewalk.
On just Hart Street or Joliet? Also?
Just on,
Just wave it on Hart.
just waving it on Hart. Further discussion?
I'll make a motion to only waive the Hart Street sidewalk due to the constraints of the floodway.
I have a motion to waive sidewalk just along Hart Street by John. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Bob. Discussion?
I guess before we, and I'm not, Ken, you didn't say anything about not constructing in a flood way. I guess, is that a true statement that we can't, do you know, Ken?
In a floodway?
Yeah,
Yeah, in a floodway, it would be very difficult to get a permit.
okay.
You probably have a couple of years of just proving to them that you haven't raised the water surface by the fill that you put in it by an inch. And there would be hundreds of calculations to prove that.
Okay,
And then there's no guarantee that you'll get it.
okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve a waiver just along Hart Street. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. All right, next waiver. There is a waiver for curb. Is there, I'll entertain a motion to either approve a waiver or deny a waiver for curb.
And just for purposes of clarification, can you clarify where the curve that they're seeking a waiver on would be?
It would be all of Hart Street and then all of Joliet Street. There would be
Okay.
no curb.
I'll make the motion to approve the waiver of the curb on Hart and Joliet Street
I have a,
for,
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Keep on. I have a motion to approve waiver of curb. Is there a second?
Second.
I got a second by Bob. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion for a waiver approved. Hart Street, there is a waiver to reduce the width from the subdivision control ordinance from 30 to 18. I will entertain a motion. And just so you guys know, I would be more, if I knew what type of industry was there and what type of truck, I would feel a little bit more comfortable with this, so just letting you know how. I know, but I don't know what, I just feel like we lose, I know what you're saying, it's a council's decision, but I think at this level.
Sell this property with 18-foot of roadway.
I know.
And you can't use it for trucks, so it kind of limits the
I know.
use that we're gonna have on there.
If there was something in writing, that's. All right, with this, again, if we knew what, if you came back and said, John, here's what type of business there is, I would probably be more willing to, so, just.
I guess my question is then why doesn't the petitioner have someone lined up to build on this so we know what's going
We
there?
have to have the one lot subdivision first, then we can get a user, and then we come back in for the development plan. So it's not like a residential lot where once we get the approval, we're coming out with a building permit tomorrow. We still got more work to do to show you that the proposed user on the site then complies with the other set of requirements for all of that.
Okay, you could still have the one lot subdivision without the waivers until you know what business it is, couldn't you? And then,
You still need the waivers regardless of what goes in there. We gotta have it.
yeah, but at that time, then maybe some of us would feel better what the
Regardless
restriction
if
is.
it's a trucking terminal or if it's a dentist office.
It's not a trucking terminal.
Regardless of what the use is, I still have to get the waivers because I can't do anything on
We can't sell the property. If we gotta widen the road, we can't sell the
it. I
property.
just, regardless of, and again, I'm not saying we're bringing anything in.
I know
there.
what you're
Industrial is scary, I get it.
It's not as scary. I mean, I want the commercial or industrial development. I'm just concerned of the potential impact.
When I hear industrial, that
Okay.
makes my mind go, I get it, but when you look at the permitted use, like I said, the first one is like office space. And it keeps, I mean, a lot of municipal stuff first, but you keep looking through it.
I guess I find it hard to believe that you wouldn't be able to sell this property. You know, you got the sidewalk waiver, you got the curb waiver, you know, contingent upon, you know, getting approval for the width of the street. I mean, I guess, you know, can you present that to a potential buyer and see if, you know, it goes?
If you can't get to the street, if you can't physically build it up, if you can't widen it, we can't do anything. So it's effectively depriving us of any use of the property. That's the problem with it. And again, that's why waivers are built into your ordinance, so that when you have an extreme hardship like this, like legitimately a hardship this time, not just because, you know, and other things I say, like, we just don't want to put in a sidewalk. But like, this is an extreme hardship based upon this property, and it's unique. I don't know of another one in town you have like this.
All right.
I was just gonna say, Adam looks really perplexed. I don't know if he wanted to say something, no?
That's his normal look.
Okay, well, it is.
I'm just studying the map. No, I'm just studying the map.
Okay.
Floodway limits are based on 100-year?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, there is a motion, or I'm sorry, there is a request for waiver for subdivision control ordinance requires a 30-foot road width to 18. I will entertain a motion either to approve or deny.
That's what it is now. Yeah. It's all built.
Want to make a motion to approve waiver for roadway width from our ordinance of 30 feet to the existing 18 feet.
I have a motion to approve waiver from 30 to 18 is by Bob. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We got a second by Jason. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion for a waiver to 30 to 18. I will entertain a motion either to approve or deny.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve waiver from 30 to 18 is by Bob. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We got a second by Jason. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? I'm sorry. Sergio, can I do a roll call on this one, please?
Sure. Bob Rolson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Bob Valois,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
John Kennedy.
No. Motion for waiver is approved. The next motion waiver is the existing Hart Street pavement does not need to meet the standard control ordinance required thickness. Is there a motion to approve or deny that waiver?
So, question for you, Doug and Mr. Kuiper. Since the road is already there and it's in a floodway, you can't re-thicken the road, not raise the height, but
Oh, at the
change the cross-section.
Again, for the same reasons as before, you're working within that floodway. Now, we'd be happy to participate if somehow the town got approval for it, like, happy to participate. It helps again with any end user of it, but otherwise, when you're working in that floodway, it requires a whole different set of requirements. And again, if in a couple of years, finally, you've submitted everything and did everything, maybe they approve it, but they don't have to by any means. We don't like looking at these, so.
So anytime the town paves it,
And the town paved it not
they
that
gotta
long
get
ago.
special permit.
Technically, yes.
Or if the road is falling apart and there's potholes and you can barely drive, you know, and you can barely drive on it because there's so many potholes, gotta get that special permit?
Technically,
Yes.
it requires a permit.
Any construction in a floodway.
Yeah.
I was glad when you guys did, though. It made my drive over here a lot easier.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Entertain either a motion to approve waiver or deny the waiver for the Hart Street for our subdivision control ordinance thickness. Further discussion? Again, there's on the, I'll entertain approval or denial of a waiver for road pavement required thickness. Discussion, comments? All right, if I could ask Adam what the situation is, if no one wants to make either a motion to approve waiver or deny waiver. Adam, what is the situation? Does it just stand as is?
Yes, in my opinion, Mr. President, a waiver requires affirmative action by the Plan Commission. If there is no affirmative action taken by the Plan Commission, the waiver is not granted.
Okay, all right. I will give, if there is no motion either to approve or deny, I will move on to the approval of primary plat.
Well, before we do that,
Okay.
let me just say, I mean, if we're approving the sidewalk and the curb, and then we approve the width, what is the last thing they're requesting?
The thickness of the asphalt.
I mean, it just makes sense, right? I mean, we can't approve the other three and then leave this one out. It just makes sense if this is the direction that we're going, right? I mean, that's what I would say. I just don't see what this one, I mean, if the other three are approved, it just makes sense to finalize this project to do the last one. Although I do understand the hesitation, because I am with John. I mean, I have that sort of trepidation about it, not knowing what will be put in there. But it makes little sense to approve the other three and just leave this one hanging. So for those reasons, I'll make the motion to approve the last waiver regarding the width, the thickness of the street.
See, I did better. I didn't jump in too
Yes,
soon, so I
you
appreciate it,
did
yes.
interrupt me, yes.
I apologize, all those. So I have a motion by Yolanda to approve the waiver for the subdivision control thickness for this Hart Street. Is there a second? And just because you second does not mean you are required to vote in favor. It just opens it up for further discussion.
I'll second.
I got a second by John Gill. Is there discussion?
I mean, I may be wrong. I don't know. I think it makes sense.
I'm going to put you on the hot seat, Councilman. What do you think the council's feeling would be to limit the road weight or requirement?
Be honest with you, John, I was gonna make some phone calls tomorrow to try and figure out what kind of recommendations I can get out. I met with council from Lake County, and we were talking about weight restrictions. Had nothing to do with this. I was just talking about general weight restrictions.
Okay.
And it ranges anywhere from 15,000 to 30,000 on average.
Okay.
So I'm going to go and hunt to answer that question for myself and the council, because they'll ask me what's the parameters we're working in.
Because I understand you're only one of four and you're not a majority,
I'm
yourself.
one of five.
You're one of five, yes. You're not a majority. So I just, okay.
They'll ask me what my opinion is or what I found out, and I'll go out in search of the numbers to be able to come up. I even asked Bob while we were sitting here, because I remember Jerry telling me the average was like 15,000 average.
Well, it sounds like they're saying 10, so I would go
No,
lower.
I wouldn't doubt it. This road is a disaster. It's
So,
a train
okay.
wreck. So,
All right.
For whatever that Crown Brick business right on the side of the tracks on the north one, they put restrictions in there, so trucks had to go towards 41 with that. So there's been some action taken over in that area. It's just a matter of looking at it.
Hart Street can't carry out. It's a wreck,
All right.
absolute wreck.
I feel better now that he's saying that. I mean, if the town council, like Tim said, and I think Adam agrees, if they can place restrictions on the,
Well, that's my thought when this conversation started, maybe a half an hour ago.
yeah,
First thought I had was, well, they're gonna look for me and they're gonna say, hey, Brian, what's your opinion? And I'm gonna need one, so I'll go out and search of the information before I answer anybody as to what I think. Because I wanna see what the county's doing, what their opinion is, and they've got some roads, anything comparable to Hart, they'll know what it is. It's Hart, I drove it a couple times and it's unbelievable.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but there already is restriction with no truck
No,
signs
I agree,
going in
but-
either direction.
But
So
what-
there is, I think, unless
What do you
I'm,
use
I
it?
think it might be just specifying the weight limit on it, rather than just the no trucks, so there's more comfortability with what may go in there.
What do you, here again, you're right, what do you classify as a truck?
Exactly.
And again, I thought in your ordinance it was 10,000, but that's why I said don't.
No,
I know.
that's possible, the county uses, I think, 15 like a minimum, and their average is 30.
Yeah, well, Mr. Chairman, I found ordinance number 356, which was adopted March 8th of 1971,
Wow.
over 50 years ago. I don't know if it's still valid, it appears to be, but ordinance 356, an ordinance being an ordinance establishing regulated load limit for vehicles over streets within the town of St. John, and it just simply says, it shall be unlawful to drive on any present street or future street within the town of St. John, any motor vehicle, the gross weight of which exceeds 5 tons, which is 10,000 pounds.
Which would be 10,000, right?
yeah.
So if that is still on
No,
the
no,
books.
he's quoting as close as you can get.
Ordinance what,
This
356?
is ordinance 356 that I'm reading from.
What kind of trucks can weigh 10,000 pounds?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that, help me out here, so
Our plow trucks exceed that limit
They're 5
easily,
ton
so.
truck, Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna call the police and have you start pulling over plow trucks.
Well, the thing of it is,
I don't use that road.
Yeah, don't plow it.
That's if he's not carrying a load of salt.
All right. All right, well, thank you, Adam, for that.
I don't know if it's still valid. I don't, again, you'd have to read through all of any ordinances that might have repealed it or revised it in some way, but.
Awesome.
That's why we have lawyers.
Awesome. All right, so we have a motion and we have a valid second.
Did we get a second?
Yeah, we got a second by John. All in favor, say, this is a motion to approve the waiver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Wait, Jason, were you opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed? Holy,
Roll call?
it's three, well, yeah, do a roll call, just to
Roll call
confirm.
vote? All right. Bob Rolson,
No.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Bob Valois,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
No.
John Kennedy.
No, motion does not pass. All right. All right, let's move on to primary plat. At that time, that waiver is still in existence until maybe we can get some better direction from the council at the next meeting.
Again, there's nothing that's gonna change from this meeting forward that would change our ability to comply with that requirement, hence the need for the waiver. And by leaving that in place and not granting it, then you're depriving us of use of the property. Regardless if you approve the subdivision, you can't use it. So that's the problem that leaves me in on the legal side.
Okay, I guess I could feel comfortable approving it contingent on if that ordinance is still in existence. Can I do that, Adam? Could that be, since there's an existing? No? Okay.
Well,
Because that's what would
it's not-
limit the
well, I'm gonna
size of the
say this,
truck.
Mr. President, it's not part of the subdivision control ordinance, which is, from the town's perspective, somewhat problematic because the Plan Commission legally is required to consider the application for the primary plat in the context of the standards set forth in the subdivision control ordinance. So it doesn't, ordinance
Gotcha.
356, whether it's still valid or not, really should have no bearing on the Plan Commission's consideration of the waivers and ultimately the approval of the application for primary plat approval.
I mean, my view on this waiver at least was, as Tim said, we, as the town, had the road repaved in the last 5 to 10 years, we'll say. And if we installed it against our subdivision control ordinance, how is that, at least in my mind, how is that the responsibility of the parcel owner to correct what the town installed as part of a paving project? That's why I kind of voted the way I did on this. That's my theory.
I mean, and it makes logical sense. Like Yolanda's comment is logical. Everything else has been approved. I just know the condition of the road, concerns for the road, and understanding, I'm just, what would be eligible to be able to use that road at the current zoning.
Well, I mean, I voted the way I voted because gentleman came up here and said there's 2 big potholes. We just paved it, but now there's 2 big potholes. And there's potentially gonna be more traffic on it with this business. And we got potholes on it, you know, so.
Not in that section. He's up by.
All right, okay. Hey, sir, we're not, let's, all right.
And for myself, I would say, great, we're limited at 10,000 pounds. What if there's 90 trucks a day at 10,000 pounds? I mean, we don't know how many trucks, we don't know what. I mean, that's a lot of wear and tear if we don't know.
So I don't know if it's necessarily the developer's responsibility or the town's responsibility. If it's the developer's responsibility, sounds like they can't do it. If the town just goes out and takes care of it and thickens that road up, then we have a lot better road. And just roll the dice that, hey, this is our road, we gotta fix it. That's my attitude of, you know, don't worry about permitting or anything else. Go out there and fix it. Because we have a road, it's been there for who knows how many years, 100+ years, maybe more.
Maybe if I might, and I want to just provide for the members, our subdivision control ordinance has specific provisions about waivers and exceptions. And that's really what we're talking about. We haven't gotten to the point where we're considering a vote to approve the primary plat. We're still discussing waivers. The Plan Commission, or where the Plan Commission finds that extraordinary hardships or particular difficulties may result from strict compliance with these regulations, it may agree and concur with waivers or exceptions to the regulations so that substantial justice may be done and the public interest secured, provided that such waiver or exception shall not have the effect of nullifying the intent and purpose of this ordinance, and further provided the Plan Commission shall not agree to waivers or exceptions to the regulations of this ordinance unless it shall make findings based upon the evidence presented to it in each specific case that, 1, the granting of the waiver will not be detrimental to the public safety, health, or welfare, or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood in which the property is located. 2, the conditions upon which the request for a waiver is based are unique to the property for which the waiver is sought and are not applicable generally to other property. 3, because of the particular physical surroundings, shape, or topographical conditions of the specific property involved, a particular hardship to the owner would result if the strict letter of the regulations were carried out. That's what the subdivision control ordinance provides regarding consideration of waivers.
So in your opinion, item 3, since this is in a flood way, would provide it
There's some,
Sir, Joe, how are you, sir? I know you're a future board member once you get sworn in, but what we'll have you do, Joe, there's public comment after the fact, so. All right. So,
I was just gonna say, there's some competing interest here, right? I mean, clearly, we have a developer who's purchased the land, that has a right to develop it.
Correct.
We all understand that, and at the same time, we have some folks here who have some concerns about what will be built in this future development. And to me, it sounds like most of the concerns from the residents, at least, you know, from what I got, from what was read, and the people that, you know, had the courage to come up here and say something, relates to the traffic and the trucking, so big, heavy trucks, I don't think people are opposed to developing the property, period. They just want to make sure that it's not something that we're having semis, passing, left and right. I think that's what I understood. So we have the developer's interest, then we have the residents' interest, and at the same time, we as the planning commission, we also have to make sure that we are doing the best that we can for the town of St. John, and that we are making sure that the road is appropriately constructed for the purpose that it's going to be used for. And I think that that's where we have the problem, right? But in my view, I think based upon what Adam just read, and specifically the last section, kind of raised some red flags on my end, and sort of confirmed the way that I voted, at least in terms of, I think they've presented enough to show that even if they wanted to comply with some of these waivers requested, they can't. They just can't. So that's the way I see it, but I just talked for like 2 minutes, so I'm sorry.
No,
You're
you have a valid point.
Your points are valid. Again, mine just comes down to the weight of the type of truck that this industrial property, which is already previously zoned, we're not changing zoning, so they're allowed to have an industrial site on there. My concern just comes down to the wear and tear on that road. And if that, we have ordinances in place, I know it's not part of our standard subdivision control ordinance, but if there's an ordinance in place that limits the weight of that truck on that facility, that's gonna limit the type of facilities they can run. Unfortunately, Adam, his opinion is that it is still valid. He's not, I don't know if he's 100% knows that it's still valid. If, with that validity of Adam's opinion, I would be comfortable with the thickness, because that's what is currently a requirement, that no truck over 10,000 could drive on that. So that was my only concern, because I just don't want a 20,000 foot truck on there, because it's not meeting our current subdivision control ordinance for an industrial. So that's all I'm looking. If there was some sort of, if I had a comfort level that limit was at 10,000, it's already a zone industrial. They have every right. However, the quality of that road, I just want a type of industry that doesn't have such heavy truck. But Jason brings up a valid point. You could have a 10,000 trucks, but you could have 20 trucks coming in and out a day, so.
Right. Or at the same time. just
Or at
park
the
on
same
road,
time, yeah,
right.
so it's that chicken before the egg, but. So if the councilman, I know he can't make any commitments, but if he says he would be interested in proceeding with some type of weight limit on that road, my comfort level increases.
You said our 5-ton plow trucks weigh more than 10,000 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put a load of salt on them, how much they weigh approximately?
Oh, gosh.
Probably 20 or
25,000?
20 to 25, I'd say, probably
Yeah.
fully loaded, yeah.
That would be, in my opinion, without getting anybody else's, including the counties, which I'll count on Dwayne and Jerry and such to give me ideas, I think that would probably be, in my opinion, the maximum, especially with as thick as the road is. So you're dealing with somewhere in the neighborhood, 15 dry weight, but 25 loaded. We gotta plow that road.
Yeah, we're on that road.
That's what I'm saying, you're on it. So other than that, you don't want 25,000 pounds running on it 50 times a day.
No.
But we've got to set a limit, and short of the snow plows hitting it when the snow flies, maybe 10,000 or 15,000 is gonna, I was thinking right from the start, 15. But Jerry told me when we talked about it, he said the average for the county country roads is 30,000. So you're not running big semis at 30,000.
Right, and we're able to enforce what the weight limit is on Hart Street. So it's whatever, if we need to come up with an ordinance to enforce that on Hart Street, then we do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that the onus would then be on the town council
And then,
to do that.
right,
Well, we'll set the weight, okay? And then our police department will enforce it, and the drivers will learn quick enough.
But setting that weight limit then
Gives them an idea of what
what
they've
type of
gotta
industry
sell.
they can
Right.
get in there within
Right.
that classification.
And that's his problem.
And that's
right
my issue, that's what it comes down to.
so we just,
Assuming that it was a 10,000 weight limit.
Well, that's what I'm gonna tell them to
Maybe-
do, is
well,
10,000.
I'm just throwing it,
Adam confirmed
confirmed that, at least on the books, it's 10,005 tons. So, again, that was our understanding coming in here tonight. So I'm not.
I'm not saying,
I understand. So I know we got limitations here, but again, I need the one lot subdivision to get to a user and then a development plan to come back.
So just a question for you. If a future limit is put on place, that's not going to be a concern to you in selling this lot? That the town council does?
Again, I assumed it was 10,000. You can't go lower than that anyway.
And 10,000 pounds is not that heavy.
no, that's why
It's a
when you
big
said our
pickup truck.
5-pound trucks.
So we understand that there's limits there and there could be limits imposed there.
All right.
So you're looking 10,000 pounds dry. You load it up with salt, you're at 25,000. That should be the maximum, and you're saying more. Well, but nothing else should be on a standard every day, letting 25,000
No.
pounds run on
And
it.
I think the majority of the board doesn't want any big semis or anything
No,
over there,
that's my point.
if we enforce it, I think
didn't
we'll be
want them to
fine.
misunderstand. I wasn't saying 15. That's where my brain just automatically
Again,
kicked
we came
in.
in with the understanding that it was 10,000 or 5 tons.
Right.
So we already understand that.
So, Councilman, I'm putting my faith,
No illusions that we're gonna be running semis, okay? Just so you understand, like, we understand that 10,000.
but do you understand, do you understand my concern is that if we did allow this waiver, the zoning would allow you to, whatever type of industry you could have on there. So you understand how I've
We've got
approached
another
it.
Bite at this apple too, with the development plan approval, site plan approval.
Right.
That you don't have for residential subdivisions or
Okay.
other things when you grant that waiver. So you're gonna see what's gonna come in, you're gonna have another chance.
Well, Councilman, I'm going to put my faith in you.
I'll
All
do
right.
my homework.
Yolanda, can you make that motion again, please?
I forgot what the motion was.
Motion to approve the waiver.
Okay, let me find this thing, sorry.
It was a motion to approve the waiver for the required thickness.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the waiver for the thickness of the road on Hart Street.
I have a motion by Yolanda again for
Is
approval.
there any contingent, or what are we?
I'm putting my faith that, because like Adam said, we cannot do a contingent
John's
on
playing
an
Russian
existing.
roulette is what he's doing.
So there's two options here that I see right now. Is that 1970 ordinance that doesn't allow any truck over 10,000 pounds. But then I'm putting my faith in Councilman Blazak to take this to the town council, if that ordinance is still not in existence, to make an ordinance that would restrict Hart Street's load 10 to 15.
I was just gonna say, we're probably in 10 to
I
15,000
like,
pounds.
to- because if we see where the road's at, we understand the
it's
sub
awful.
bays.
But I guess what I'm asking, are we gonna have a contingent on?
I don't think we can.
No,
We
no,
can't.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think what the motion is we're still considering waivers. We haven't gotten to approval of the primary plat yet, so I don't know if that.
Oh, at the
clarifies.
primary plat, can we put a contingency?
No.
No,
I don't-
okay,
I
very
don't
good.
think you can make.
I'm asking every,
Approve
all right.
primary plat with the contingency, no.
all right, damn, so, sorry. Oh, God.
I think we're considering the waiver.
So based on this.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the waiver for the SCO required thickness. Is there a second?
I'll second again.
There's a second by John. Roll call, discussion, comments. Board, so you knew how I voted the last time. Understanding what I heard from Adam, I'm going to play, look at my councilman, understanding that I'm hoping he can convince two other of his council members to put some sort of limit on Hart Street. I understand the dilemma they're in. I understand the residents concerned about the structure of that, integrity of the road. And so, awesome. All right, so I got a motion. I got a valid second. Roll call, please.
Bob Rolson,
Yes.
Yolanda Cardona,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Bob Valois,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
and John Kennedy.
Yes. Motion approved for waivers. Next, we're not done yet. Now, we have a motion to approve preliminary plat for the subdivision. Again, I will read Ken's letter just to refresh. This project is a one-lot subdivision zoned, it's already zoned industrial and contains 11.62 acres. We have reviewed the primary plat and find it to be satisfactory with the waivers that we've given. The development fee for this project is undetermined at this time, pending any waivers that may be granted. Hearing that, do I have a motion? I will entertain a motion. This would be to approve, deny, or potentially defer.
Make a motion to approve primary plat? Is that what it is? Primary? Primary plat of Joliet subdivision.
We have a motion for approval of primary plat by Bob. Is there a second?
Second.
We got a second by John. Discussion, comments? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion approved. Primary plat.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have old and new business. I asked Sergio to put this on here. Sergio, did you send the letter, or did I include it? What did I do with it?
I don't see it.
This was, what did I do with it?
Did we lose the letter?
I got it. So this, as last meeting, special meeting, we approved Unit 17B. The letter that we get from Ken was, they had made a change to it, so I asked if I could read it into the record. So it says, "Dear Plan Commission, this is regarding the Gates of St. John lots 1420, 1421, Unit 17B. Contrary to the review letter for this project dated February 15, 2022, a development fee is required. The sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main system will be public utilities, not private as reported in said letter. The development fee is $3,289.51. This fee is based on 2% of the construction minus $1,500 that has already been paid. If you have any questions, Ken Kraus." So I just wanted to make sure we read that into the record, and that's all we needed to do there. Awesome. Next on the agenda, we have public comment. This is, you can discuss any items that you want. There are two names. Tim Neary, I don't know if he was with Walnut.
No, I'm with
Artesian? Yeah. And then Brad Lambert? I mean, anyone could speak about any comment, so just name for the record.
Brad Lambert, my address is 8865 Crooked Bend, St. John. I am the managing member of St. John Commons LLC. Just attending tonight to ask that the St. John Commons LLC basically reconsidering of the PUD, that we be on the agenda for the March 16th
Study session.
Study session.
The April public hearing.
And the April public hearing.
All right, is everything, all the I mean, you don't have to have the notification out yet, but
It's 5 weeks from tonight, so we have plenty of time for that. We want to be heard at the study session with our revised plan, and we don't want to miss an opportunity to have a public hearing in April. We really need to keep the project moving forward.
I'm totally
And that's really why we're
sympathetic to
here.
that.
It wasn't on there.
When do you think we will have the updated?
Next week,
The 11th. By the 11th.
before the study session.
Before the study session?
So we can discuss the revised plan at the study session.
Because the study session is on the
16th.
2 weeks from tonight.
16th. Any sooner? Well, it's only it's only the residential area, right?
Right. It's
Okay.
Very minor change. So
Okay. So, even though I don't have that power, I wish I did, it's for board consideration, for us to add it to, or to make a public, for me to have the authority to make a public announcement that it will be a public hearing. Contingent, that all notifications and all that are out. The sooner we can get the information to review that, the residential, the better, as you understand. So I will entertain, so they're asking for me to be able to make an announcement that there will be a public hearing on St. John Commons revision to their PUD on April 6th. I'm thinking that's the next public hearing, regular schedule, April 6th. So if the board is with the knowledge that we're gonna get the information by March 11th to review the updated changes to the residential units and then be at study session.
On the 16th.
So I will entertain a motion for me to make notice for public hearing.
I'll make a motion for you to make a notice of public hearing.
I got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There will be a public hearing, April 6th, for the St. John Commons.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Name and address for the record again,
Bill
please.
Keith, 10455 West 93rd Avenue. And just a little clarification on a couple things is the big pothole that the people were referring to, I wasn't trying to disrespect them, but if the corner of 93rd and Hart is where they're talking about and how that started, it's the DePiro property right there on the corner. And how that, it's not a pothole. There was an accident there in the winter and somebody sunk in pretty deep right there, and it caused like a big muddy spot. And now I think people, when they're going around that corner, they think that that's part of the corner, so they've been making it into an issue, but it never was a problem before. So I wasn't trying to call them liars. There is a problem on that corner, but it isn't a pothole. Okay. It's people cutting the corner a little too close because there was an accident there. So that's that. Number two, man, it sure would be nice if we'd get a sidewalk from where John used to live all the way to where the new Joliet tie-in is on the west side of Joliet, because Rita Berg, you guys know Rita?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Rita Berg, she lost her son Bobby when I was a teenager probably, because he was riding his bicycle and there wasn't a sidewalk and he got hit. It was a terrible accident. He got hit by a tire or something and killed him. And Rita has been in here faithfully asking for a sidewalk so that no more kids get hurt.
From where to where?
From Rita's house on Joliet Street all the way through to where kids could get to Civic Park or whatever. So it would basically be the south, if I have my direction right, the south side of Joliet. So if you go down Hart to where it tees into Joliet,
Yeah.
and you guys are talking about trying to get up over the tracks with raising that, that wetland area, the opposite side probably has some issues as well, because there's a retention or detention pond there, and then the other side with the old cemetery. But that side, if there was an alternative to run a sidewalk down there, maybe we dedicate it to Bobby Berg. I've seen Rita in here, and I've seen countless council members come and go, and everyone always promises Rita that they're gonna do something about it, and they never do it. I don't want to name anybody, but prominent members of the town council have said, yeah, we'll look into it. And then I saw her last week kind of like hobbling from her mailbox, and I thought, there's been no justice for Bobby, and it'd be a nice gesture. That's my opinion. And then the final thing is on the farmland that we used to have that Hart Street is on. The reason that Hart Street's there is it was a cut through for the grain elevator for all the farm trucks coming from all the farmland around here. And when they were bringing their grain in for harvest at the end of the season, they would have had to go over a couple sets of tracks over on Thielen Street around to the grain elevator, right? So that was a cut through, and it was just a gravel road, and it had, up until the 70s, it had a tree growing in the middle of it still. I don't know if some of you guys might have remembered the old stump in the middle of the road. And so the road was never properly, nobody really looked at it like, hey, we need to make this a good thoroughfare. It was improper planning of past town leaders to not see the growth of the town potential in the future, and that's kind of why that road was where it's at. But that was just a cut through, so everyone just keeps adding more and driving over. But honestly, I have a big four-wheel drive vehicle, and I drive on all that property because we own part of it, still. And when the ditch is dredged out, I'm just going to hit that dead horse one more time, but when the ditch is dredged out, I drive my four-wheeler out there. I don't sink anything. It isn't a wetland when the county dredges the ditch. So hopefully that helps, but thank you guys.
Thank you. I don't know about the stump. I always know about the fork in the road. Bad that joke, I'm sorry.
My name's Ken Kaiser. I live at 10813 Snyder Place. They're in artesian wells. Just a invitation for all you guys. I know you don't come in my neighborhood. It's a horseshoe neighborhood. Come up either road you want. You try to get back on 231 in the morning or in the afternoon and try to go towards Crown Point and see how long you have to wait, because it's no joke. So if he puts a business there on the corner, all that's going to do is add to our time trying to get out of there.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank you
thanks.
for your comments. Oh, I'm right behind you, buddy.
Tim Neary, I'm 11025 West 108th Avenue. Couple things. Our streets used to have a weight limit. It was 10 ton. And those signs magically disappeared a few years ago.
In your neighborhood?
In my neighborhood. The only reason why I know that, I had a big service truck, had 26,000 pound plates on it, but I had to keep it under 20,000 pounds. And I got it weighed quite often. Now the county brings the plows in our neighborhood. They don't put their blade down. They just drive through our neighborhood in the winter, okay? Lady back there, I have to fix her yard because they run through their yard. They can't make the turn. They're too big. So you're talking about putting a business there, you're gonna widen that road. You're gonna have to widen the whole road, because human nature says, I'm not gonna turn left to go to 231. I'm gonna go around and go towards going. They're doing it now. The vegetable stand, they do it now. You know, so it's why are we gonna try to beef this thing up for that, for no reason? Well, Frank left. His wife about got run over one day. Kid was on his phone, driving down the road. She's trying to catch her dog, and she about got run over.
All right.
And then to see what this guy does, he's built this house. I'm out there cleaning the garbage up all the time. Back of my Kubota's full of garbage from his place. Right, Tom? We were out cleaning it last night. So he put his sump pump, dumped it into Harold's property. So what's he gonna do with this other stuff? How's he gonna handle it? He's not gonna do it right. You know, and, maybe we need somebody to come up there and watch it.
All right, sir.
You know, I'm off of work now, I'll do it.
All right. Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else for public comment?
Dennis Tomaszak, 11001 West 108th Avenue. I think the only concern I would have, or somebody needs to really check into, as long as if these things get approved, it's going to be improved. They're going to be improved in a subdivision that was probably built in the early 1960s. The infrastructure, like the sewer systems and whatnot, were probably sized properly for the amount of homes that were built there at that time. And the more buildings that you add to it, and the more structures that are going to be used in that system, has somebody done a study to see if the volume is adequate enough?
That's what our town engineer will look at.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Appreciate it. If there are no other comments, just for the record, our newest board member, Joe Gomestego, is in the audience.
Hey, Joe.
You're not talking tonight. You're done. So you're done. So everyone, thank you for coming out. The meeting is adjourned.